Hi there, my name is Joyful Joyce Thomas, and people probably want to know, why is Joyful Joyce Thomas? Well, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to tell you because a few years ago, maybe about 10 years ago, God gave me a name. My mother named me Joyce and my father, but God gave me Joyful. And He gave me Joyful because no one can say Joyful Joyce with a frown on their face. And so I took the name when He gave it to me, Joyful Joyce, and I ran with it. And I love introducing myself as Joyful Joyce. All right, I'm from Detroit, Michigan, and I am wonderfully made. I am a child of the King, and I just love it being a child of the King. I'm from Detroit, Michigan. My parents are from Alabama. I spent 17 summers in Alabama. Woo-wee, man, you should, and those summers, you would know that I spent those summers there because I know how to milk a cow. I know how to shuck corn. I know how to even be a plow in the field because my uncles had me being a plow in the field. One of the things I also know how to do is my grandmother, she was an entrepreneur. And in Connecticut County at this time, it was a dry county. She was the person who sold liquor. So by her selling liquor, I was the one I went with her down to the still, and I was the one who was pouring it in the little glass jars, 50 cents and a quarter glass jar. So that was all about Evergreen, Alabama, and I spent 17 summers there, and even going to Alabama, it was a 22-hour ride, and I remember you could not stop in various places. You had to stop on the side of the road to go to the bathroom. Dad knew where to stop, and he knew we would stop on the side of the road, and then we go to the bathroom, and we get back in the car, and it's 22 hours to get to Alabama, to get to this little southern town in Alabama. So I remember vividly that when we was in Alabama, and I ran, my grandmother, we was going to the steel mill, and she loved these hamburgers. And so we went to the place to get the hamburgers, and I bust out the car and I ran in the front door. Well, I didn't know any difference because I'm in Detroit, and you go in the front door. She came and got me, and she was bowing down. She said, "Come on, baby, come on, let's go on out." We had to go to the back to order our hamburgers. I was totally disappointed with that. And I love these hamburgers because, I didn't know. I love the hamburgers. They were tasty. But that day, it left a bad taste in my mouth. So that was one of my Alabama things. And another thing, went to the cafe. Not the cafe, the drugstore. Went to the drugstore, and the lady said, "Hi, Fanny." Well, I wasn't able to call my grandmother Fanny, and I didn't think, and she wasn't much older than me, and I said, "Wait a minute, hold it for it. You call my grandmother Mrs. Wortley by her last name. You don't address her by her first name." And my grandmother just grabbed me. Okay, don't do that. Don't do that. So I became a militant, I would like to say. I love African American history. I remember my mother, she bought me this book, Negroes Past and Present. And I would read that book and read that book and read that book. And anytime I had to do a paper or anything, I would go to my Negro Past and Present book, and I would write a paper on black folks. Yeah. So I would read that book, Negroes Past and Present, and anytime I had to write a paper, I wrote a paper on what Negroes was doing. I was born a Negro, and that's what's on my birth certificate, Negro. Now I am an African American, and I even know where I'm destined from, where I came from. So by me being that militant, I took a course, I think about it in the 7th grade. This was after Martin Luther King's death. That was an eerie that was an eerie time too, because right after his death, we had the riots in Detroit, and if you've never seen all the tanks and all the stuff that's come, all those things, boy, oh boy, it was some tanks, and we would sit on the front porch during the riots, and we would just see smoke coming from everywhere. It was a troubling time. I was about 12 or 13. That was a troubling time for me. So, but you know, you get through it, you live through it. My father used to say, "Why do you call the police the pigs?" I said, "Well, why do they have to go in the neighborhood with their guns sticking out the car?" Well, that was that. My father was a truck driver. And being a truck driver, he was gone on the road for a while. But he always made sure that we was taken care of. My mother was a cashier. My father was a truck driver. And we took separate vacations. We went to Alabama together, we went to Canada together. And going to Canada, my father had a boat in 1963, and that was a big deal. I mean, we had this boat, 1963, it was about 18-footer and 75 horsepower engine. But we would go to the river all the time, we would go to the lakes all the time, but we would also go to Canada. My father loved to go fishing. So we would go to Canada, and we would go fishing for a week. So now we was up in Canada now. We were really kind of like, no running water, no bathroom. So if you was up in the middle of the night, either you use the pot, or you had to get up and go to the restroom in the middle of the night. But we got through that, but my father loved it, and my mother loved it. No phones, no nothing, just peace and quiet. So we went to Canada every year. We went to Canada 7, 8 years in a row, maybe 10 or 12 years in a row. So we would go to Canada, and that's where he went for his vacation, where he chilled right out. And being a kid, we went fishing. Yes, I learned to water ski there too. Got on the water ski, so I was really having a great time, great life. So, high school. High school was a time that high school was good. I was in high school, I was in everything in high school. I mean, I played sports. I was most athletic of my class. I played sports, I danced, I just had a lot of fun in high school. Of course, I graduated a little earlier than I was supposed to graduate. So I graduated, went on, and then I went to college. Well, 2 weeks after I graduated, I started college, and I really didn't have a path, but God gave me a path. And he also gave me this path. So 2 weeks after graduation, I started community college. I finished community college within a year and a half. And then I went to the university. I went to Northern Illinois University. And from there, I graduated in '77. So I've been out of college a long time. And I've had a pretty decent life up to that time. So then, after that, I went to corporate America. Being in corporate America, you have to go through your ebbs and flows. But this particular time, I worked for this company called Whitehall Laboratories. Whitehall Laboratories, I sold Dristans, Preparation Age, and Anisons. So those were their main things they sold. Well, in my particular territory, I sold over $300,000 worth of these particular things, these particular Anisons, Dristans, and they came out with Advil and Preparation H. I mean, I was really I was really selling. But I found out how America really was. It really wasn't about what you sold. It really wasn't about that, because they pulled somebody from not in my territory and promoted them over me in my territory. And I was number 10 in the nation. So I found out America, that was a rude awakening for me. So I said, at the age of 28, I said, I'm going to find something I can go into and nobody can take it away from me. I went into the insurance industry. Now, I've been in the insurance industry since 1985. I absolutely love it. I have been in the industry, out the industry. I have been, when I moved here to Las Vegas, I still was licensed in Michigan, and then I got my license in Nevada. And it's been a good business for me. It's been a good business for me because I was able to help to take care of my husband who had been sick since 2005. But I'll get to that later. But the insurance business, oh man, it's the only business in America that you can earn as much as you want, and also you can be, and also you do philanthropic stuff. I mean, you help out people. You know the virtue of helping people. You know all of that with the insurance business because you talk to people and you get intimate with people. I remember one of my first cases of insurance. My girlfriend and her husband, they brought me over and they wanted some insurance. My girlfriend said, "I don't want this." Da 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 da. Well, her husband, he called me at his office, and I went to his office, and he said, "I want this policy." It was a $100,000 policy, and $100,000 in 1986 was a whole bunch of money. However, it seemed as though the policy got issued and everything was fine. 2 years later, he died. Oh my goodness! And by this time, my girlfriend had known he had the policy. And by him having the policy, when I went over to the house that day, she said, "I'm so sorry, Joyce. I know I didn't want that for you, but look what God has done for our family." Yes, they had 2 children, $100,000 in 1987, that they were on their way to a happier life. So that made me know that the insurance business was good for me. So I've been in the insurance business since 1985, and this is 2022, and that's a good thing. I met my husband, and that's a good story too. I met my husband in 1991, and I met him, and I liked him. It was just something about this guy. He was walking down the hall, tall, robust. He had dark hair, he had dark eyebrows, he had this mustache that was very thick, and it was something about his eyes. I said, "Oh, you have nice eyes." And he said, "Yeah, how you doing?" I said, "Fine." And so he thought that was a pickup line, and I didn't think nothing of that because I always compliment people, because you compliment people because you see something nice, you tell them it's nice. So that was just my MO. It was just nothing. It was nothing about that was really strange to me. So he saw me again, and when he saw me again, he was like, "Oh, what do you do?" I said, "I sell insurance." He said, "I need some insurance." "Oh, you do?" He said, "Yeah, for me and my son." I said, "Well, how old is your son?" He said, 9. I said, "Okay." He said, "Well, how old?" He said, "Well, how old?" I said, "Well," I asked him how old he was. He told me he was 32 years old. Because he thought I was 28. Well, a long story short, we started to date. Well, we didn't really start to date. I asked him if he can go to my sorority's ball with me. So he said, "Yeah, okay." We had made the arrangement. Now this is 6 weeks. I gave the brother 6 weeks, and he said, "Okay." However, when it came down 2 days before, he said he couldn't go. I was like, "What? You can't go? I gave you 6 weeks to make your arrangements, to get off work, to do whatever you had to do." So I was through with that. So my office was right next door to his place of work, and when he found out that was my office, he kept coming knocking on the door, and I tell my secretary, "Say, I'm not here. I don't want to deal with him. No, I'm not dealing with this. This is it. I'm not dealing with this." So finally, I said to him, I said, "Well, okay, I started to talk to him. I think I had my birthday party, and he came to my birthday party. And I would have my birthday parties from 12 to 12. Oh my goodness, it would be 12 to 12. I told him to come for lunch, come after lunch, come before work, come after work, just come. And boy, oh boy, it would be people in and out my house for 12 hours. And that was a lot of fun in Detroit. So he came to the party. So then after that, he came. I asked him to go to my high school boat ride. We went to my high school boat ride, and that was on a Thursday, the 4th of July. Never will forget that. Well, me being a church, I was in church, I was teaching Sunday school and all of that. I really liked this guy. I mean, I liked this guy. And he didn't have really nowhere to go at that particular time. So I let him move in with me. And my goodness, he moved in on a Tuesday. My mother, she had to come and see everything that was going on. She came to meet him on that Saturday because she knew that I had never ever let anybody stay over my house more than 2 days. So she came to meet him, and she said, oh. And he told her, he said, I don't want to live with your daughter. I want to marry your daughter. Oh boy. Well, she went and told everybody in the family, Joyce is engaged, Joyce is engaged, Joyce is engaged. And I'm like, huh. And then later on, my girlfriend came over, and she said, and he told her the same thing. I don't want to live with her. I want to marry her. And so he said, well, when do you want to get married? So she got up and went and got the calendar, and because he said, this is Deacon Robert Thomas. He said that he wanted to get married before the summer was out. Okay. So Debbie, she said, okay, here's a date, the 21st of September. Well, it was on and popping by then. 21st of September rolled around. We had a big wedding. We had 300 people at the wedding. It was at the church. We had reception. We had a luncheon reception, and we were married 30 years. Well, why am I fearfully and wonderfully made? Because I am a child of the King. Because I love people. Because I go above and beyond to help people. Because God gave me that. He gave me that joy. He gave me that sense of urgency to help people. And that's what I do. In my sorority, in my church, in my daily life, it is not a time that I don't help somebody every day. If it's nothing more just to give a hug. Yesterday I gave a young lady a hug because she was crying. And so I just hugged her. So getting back to, I got married. I've been married 30 years. My husband passed. It was Deacon Robert Thomas. He passed. But I still have joy in my heart for that, because I didn't want to see my husband suffer. And he was, at that time when he passed, he was suffering. And I didn't want to see that. We raised one son together, Michael, and he is the joy of our lives. And I have a bonus granddaughter, and I have a grandson too. And so it's all good. It's all good because God made me, and I wouldn't change a thing about myself. And matter of fact, I look good today. Miss Carmen said, don't wear no church clothes. So I said, let me put my jeans on and let me put my hair together, and I will never go gray. Miss Carmen's gonna go gray. I'm not gonna go gray. I'm gonna change my hair. I got 10 more years before I get gray. But it's all good. Wearing a wig every day, it's all good. I can change my hair, change my look. Well, that is all about me. Again, my name is Joyful Joyce Thomas, and it's been a pleasure to talk to you.
So I have a question for you.
Okay.
What is the greatest part of being so joyful?
I can spread the joy. I spread it. When you smile, I come in, I hug everybody. I'm just happy. I'm really just truly happy.
That's good. And so tell your audience why they should embrace the joy of God.
Because you should embrace the joy of God every day of your life, because God, I'm going to give you a scenario. If in fact you go outside and you look at a plant, it is a different type of, everyone is different. Every greenery is different. It's not all the same green. And when you look at the sky every day, especially we're here in Las Vegas, you get a new scenery every day. Where does that happen? It doesn't happen every day. It doesn't happen that you get a new scenery on the mountains. It doesn't happen that every time you see something green, the same green grass is not the same green tree. The same green tree is not the same. It's not the same. So God has created all these colors and all of these things just to bring us joy. And you know, I just get great pleasure out of seeing these things, and get great pleasure out of just giving a hug, just get great pleasure out of just being what God has for me to be, joyful.
Thank you, Joyce.
You're welcome.